All good things must come to an end, so we are going to dive right into this spring review. You're going to want to discuss this one with all your friends. Have to protect those cameras. Have you learned that by now, young Devery? You aren't going to want to miss this show, so promise you won't jump to any conclusions, because by the end, you will fall for this one. Sportsnight is next.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sportsnight. I'm Joe Young.
And I'm Howie Shapiro. Joe, the last show of the year. The last show of the year.
The very last show of the 2015-16 school year. Another one in the books. Number 19 for the CTN crew.
Wow. It's crazy.
Pretty amazing. And, you know, the spring season always goes by so fast, but a lot of good things happened, and hopefully it's building towards the future in most cases.
Yeah, I would think so. You know, there's a lot of youth in the spring season, and hopefully the experience that they got over the year, they are able to develop and take into the summer and do better for the next season.
Well, we have 8 different programs to try and wrap up here today, so we'll get through them and give some props to all of the graduating seniors as they move on to the next level.
Let's do it.
Start with the baseball team. They didn't achieve what they felt they were capable of, but the Cardinals were better in some respects than they have been in years. This is a program that is usually a contender in the Northwest Suburban. That wasn't the case this season, but the Cardinals can take heart in what they did accomplish and look to build on it again in 2017. The Cardinals have always been a team that starts with pitching and defense, and that was certainly the case this spring.
Out on the play with Merkel covering.
The pitching staff gave them a chance to win every time they took the field. They had the best team ERA, the most strikeouts, and the fewest walks of a Cardinal staff since the 2013 team that finished 4th at state. At the same time, they could never quite get the bats going. The Cardinals' batting average dropped more than 50 points from 2015 to 2016, and they scored 101 fewer runs during the season. In most offensive categories, this was the weakest lineup for the Coon Rapids Cardinals in the last 6 seasons. Still, they were scrappy and managed to post a decent record of 11-9.
Fastball hit back towards center. It'll fall. Line drive single.
That earned them the 4th seed in the 5-4A tournament. After an opening round upset by 5th-seeded Centennial, the Cardinals won a pair of games in the lower bracket, but their season ended when the Cougars beat them for the 3rd time this season.
Runner is going. Hansen swings and misses. Sliding in safely at second is Olsen ahead of the throw.
The Cardinals will be hard-pressed to replace what they are losing. There are 10 seniors in all, and that includes 4 of their top 5 pitchers. Junior Nick Harold will be the only one returning that saw significant time on the mound this year. On a positive note, they will return several of their top hitters. And while their offensive numbers were down this year, bringing those guys back with an added year of experience should mean they will be much improved at the plate in 2017. Yeah, there are your seniors: Jared Crawford, Nick Speltz, Jake Tomovic, Noah Wolf, Zach Raymond, Jake Hansen, Ray Wellner, Tyler Brick, Dan Matthews, and Eric Pask. And it's a list that, again, includes the majority of their pitching. And their pitching was impressive this year. It was hard to see throughout the year just how good they were because they kept losing, but they were losing games 2-1. 1-0. You know, it's hard for a pitching staff to get those victories when the bats aren't going.
Well, no doubt about it. And, you know, you look at their team ERA all season under 2, and that was the strength of their team. And uncharacteristically, I think the Cardinals were just not hitting the ball. They put those 2 aspects together, and you may see a different type of season out of this Cardinal ball club. So their biggest challenge going into next year is to try and replace those arms.
Yeah, and it will be interesting. There's a great feeder program for the baseball program here in Coon Rapids, and I'm sure they'll have kids coming out that are going to be ready to compete. Yeah, this is a year that they know they could have been better had they just been able to get the bats going a little more.
No question about it. Well, it took a while for the softball team to get going this year. They played well at the end and made a good run in the section tournament. The Cardinals were very young this season and just 4 seniors on the roster. So it should be great in shape to move for this program forward when the spring season rolls around next year.
In many ways, the softball team's perseverance should be admired by their Cardinal peers. They struggled heavily at the start, managing just 2 runs in their first 3 games and losing 6 of their first 7. But they never got discouraged. They believed they would get better if they kept working, and that's exactly what happened. The Cardinals put together their best win streak of the final week of the regular season, winning 3 straight, all against conference opponents.
Throw's coming home from Buell, and she got her.
They finished with a 7-12 record, which got them the 7th seed in Section 7 4A tournament. Once again, their perseverance would show through. After getting blown out by eventual champion Forest Lake in the opening round, the Cardinals made a great run in the elimination bracket. They scored back-to-back wins, including sweet revenge against Andover. The Cardinals beat the Huskies 7-5, the same score Andover won by in the regular season finale. That made them one of the final 4 teams remaining in the tournament, the only low seed still alive. Unfortunately, a big first inning by Blaine in their next game spelled the end for Coon Rapids. The Cardinals only graduate 4 seniors, and while their loss will be felt, what they return is very exciting. Their top 2 hitters and 4 of their top 5 will be back, and so will all of their pitchers. Contending in this conference is never easy, but the 2017 roster should have a bit of a head start considering of the talent and the experience that they have. If they continue to work through adversity the way they did this season, defending champions Anoka and Elk River may find these Cardinals nipping at their heels, or maybe even flying right past them next spring.
There are the 4 seniors: Bailey Broen, Alyssa Hansen, Jackie Larson, and McKenna Ackerman. And Alyssa Hansen, a 4-year starter, a captain,
Huge loss.
a tri-sport athlete,
Yep.
The
Athena
Athena
Award
winner.
Yep.
Definitely, and Larson played most of the season out in left field.
She did.
The losses there will be felt, but what they have coming back is pretty exciting.
Well, yeah, and their pitchers come back, and they have a young pitcher that got a lot of experience this year as
Yeah,
well.
Lam, who came in, Lam came in, the 8th grader. They
Yep.
came in not until the playoffs, got her first varsity win in the playoffs. So that's very exciting. She's going to be around for a long time. And Kayla Thoen, she shouldered the majority of the innings this season. Mackenzie Wilkins, who's more of their offensive weapon, but she can pitch as well. She came in and had some decent innings along the way as well.
Well, that positive run towards the end of the season, I think, really helps for next year as well. They built some confidence knowing that they can play with the teams in this conference, and that'll bode well for them.
Yeah. Moving right along, the Cardinals tennis team took a big step this season, posting their best record in more than 5 years. Many of their leaders have been a part of the rebuilding process over the past few seasons, and they will be hit hard by graduation. It'll be interesting to see if the players that do return next spring will be able to continue that progress. When the season started, the Cardinals were excited about their potential. They had a veteran group that had weathered some tough seasons and seemed ready to come into their own. But the challenges before them were no less daunting. The Northwest Suburban boasts some of the state's top-ranked teams. And while the section realignment meant they would no longer have to worry about perennial power Mounds View, they knew the addition of teams like Duluth East, Forest Lake, and Grand Rapids would mean the postseason was still an uphill climb. The Cardinals started the season as well as they could have hoped, winning their first 4 matches decisively and all against conference opponents. By mid-season, they had posted a 7-1 record, but their most difficult challenges still lay ahead. The Cardinals faced it head-on and finished the regular season with a very respectable 10-7 record, 7-3 in the conference. Their losses were to champion Elk River and fellow Power Centennial, and a late-season 3-4 loss to Iredale that would be the one that got away. The Cardinals scheduled several matches against their new section rivals. A few were rained out, but they beat Princeton and lost a 3-4 match to Grand Rapids. However, they were swept by Duluth East. They were the 6th seed in the section tournament and started the postseason at home, beating 11th seed Cambridge Isani before losing to eventual runner-up Chisago Lakes. Alex Fish pulled off an upset in the first round of the individual tournament before losing to the 4th seed from Elk River. Both doubles teams would also win their first matches, but neither could advance past the quarterfinal. The Cardinals will lose a total of 6 seniors, 4 of whom played almost every varsity match. It won't be easy to replace that much talent, but the Cardinals have a number of players coming back that should give them a shot to pick up where they left off this season. And there are your tennis seniors: Mark Dammel, Mike Frederickson, Nate Murphy, Spencer Juola, Stephen Yang, and Twizu Timoa. And, the most notable loss there is going to be Frederickson and Yang. They were the top doubles team for the Cardinals all season long, had a great run in that top doubles spot. Most of the singles lineup will remain intact, so that's great news, including Aaron Bauer, who was the #1 singles player most of the year and has been with the program for 3 years now. And coming into his senior year, he will be someone that they can look to for leadership, and I think he's the kind of player that will be able to provide that.
All in all, pretty good season for the tennis team. And this is another squad that does well at the lower levels, bringing some younger players up and getting a lot of experience. So take that into next year as well.
A couple weeks ago, when we did our final show of the regular season, there was still one Cardinal athlete left in action. Callie Harris made it to the state tournament in the 300-meter hurdles. Third straight year for the junior getting to the state tournament, and a great finish. She finished 4th in the 300-meter hurdles. Take into account, of course, that the girl who won broke her own state record that she set the year before, and she is also just a junior. So Harris, while she has been impressive, she's got some catching up to do. There's some pretty powerful runners and speed in the hurdles in the state of Minnesota, but a 43.62 in the final, and I believe that was her best time of the year, and that's exactly when you want it, having your best time at the end.
Yeah, props to her. Obviously, a good 3 years making it to the state tournament. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and just one more year ahead of her as a senior. We'll see if she can make it 4 straight, and that's definitely commendable.
Well, as we talked about, a great finish to the season for Harris, and she's got one more year to try and climb the top of that podium. And she's far from the only one. Both boys and girls track and field teams are young this year and should be in a better position to make a run at climbing the conference standings next spring.
The girls' team had a little more success this season, but they will also lose a little more to graduation. The Cardinals will lose 13 total seniors, including several of their leaders both on the track and in the field. But they will also return a lot of promising young athletes. The Cardinals saw improvements in times and distances from almost every athlete over the course of the season. Their strength showed in several different events. Most notably, of course, was Callie Harris in hurdles. But there were several others that showed promise and turned some heads. The Cardinals' distance runners and relay teams were consistently some of the best around, and their jumpers, pole vaulters, and throwers were also finishing high enough to provide a lot of hope for the future. The Cardinals competed well throughout the year, finishing middle of the pack in the conference, section, and true team tournaments. With another year of seasoning, the Cardinals hope their younger athletes will be able to help them leap up toward the top of the standings in both the Northwest Suburban and Section 5AA. The boys will have a little more work to do, but they should have plenty of foundation blocks to start with when they return to the track next spring. The Cardinals' finishes kept them towards the bottom of the rankings as they finished 13th in Northwest Suburban Championships and 15th in the section meet. The good news is they only lose 8 seniors. The most notable of their losses will be Nate Muggenberg and Tommy Keeger, both of whom have been leaders for the program for several years. Sophomore distance runner Paul Breitbach, along with junior pole vaulter Tanner Gullickson and junior thrower Tim Mandyke, will be among the Cardinals' top finishers returning in 2017. They will be looked at to lead the team, and they'll have plenty of help. The Cardinals boasted more than 80 members this season, so with only 10% lost to graduation, that leaves 90% set to return to improve on what they started this year.
And there are your 8 Cardinals boys seniors: Brandon Cooper, Chandler Porter, Darnell Apido, Momo Dunar, Nate Muggenberg, Thomas Kicker, and Titus Spikes and Tyler Reski. And, you mentioned it there. We got to talk about the girls, too, as well. Juliana Anderson, Brianna Clark, Cassandra Dixon, Juliet Fadunabi, Kelly Wanula, Alexa Hanneman, Badadatu Koji, Madison Koski, Teresa Lancette, Noah Landon, Callie Lawrence, Devin Van Seth, and Bronwyn White. And you mentioned it there, eight boys, but about 80 on the squad. So that's a pretty small percentage, and they do have a couple of top finishers among them. The girls, I think, have a couple of more top finishers, but they also have a little more strength to build on than the boys do. So coming into next season, the girls will be in a pretty decent position. They're in the middle of the pack already. They want to take that next step up, try and challenge for those top spots and compete with those elite teams. Boys need to get into that middle pack first and then worry about trying to contend.
Yeah, hopefully with those numbers they can do that and they can look to improve for next year, and a good season for the girls as we talked about.
Well, and obviously weather was not a factor too much for the teams this year. They were able to get out on the track right away. One of the early events they had to skip the field events because it was the ground was still too hard. But hopefully, like you said, another year of seasoning. Some of these kids are going to get a little bit faster and push to make those steps up in the conference that they wanted to make. Moving along, the boys golf team took a good step this season as well, but they still have a long way to go if they want to compete with the top teams in the Northwest Suburban. Cardinals had 2 golfers earn all-conference honors this year, and one of them will be back next spring, hoping to lead the team back up the conference standings. Golf is a sport that can take a lifetime to master. With how short the spring season is, there isn't much opportunity to see dramatic improvement from the beginning of the schedule to the end. The Cardinals' scores this season were relatively consistent. There were fluctuations due to one or more guys having a really good or a really bad day, but for the most part, the averages stayed the same and saw modest improvements. From the beginning, it was clear they had a couple of players that could make a major splash, and that's exactly what they did. Senior Michael Elson and junior Travis Hess led the team all season long, and both would finish as all-conference. The most exciting round of the season came courtesy of Hess. During the Northwest Suburban match at North Fork, Hess set a school record by shooting a 4-under par 68 to be the event medalist. In the same event, Elson was just 8 strokes back at 4 over. Hess finished the season with a team-low average of 39.64 per 9 holes, and Elson's average was just under 41. As a team, the Cardinals finished with an 18-hole average of 346.57, 11th out of 13 teams in the conference. For reference, Northwest Suburban champion Blaine averaged 308, with 4 guys averaging in the high 30s per 9 holes. That's what it will take to be a contender. If the Cardinals put in the work in the offseason, there's no reason they can't be pushing those top teams by next spring. There are your 3 seniors, Michael Elson, Nick Halseth, and Peyton Nash. And Elson, as we mentioned, one of the 2 all-conference golfers. The other 2 also were in most of the varsity events. But yeah, you look at the numbers that those other teams are putting up. The Cardinals, as a team, averaging about 40 strokes off the pace with those elite teams. That's 10 strokes per golfer. For those top teams, they've got 3 or 4 guys that are averaging in the high 30s. Coon Rapids is just the one guy averaging high 30s per 9 holes this season.
Yeah, and this is a game obviously that you can improve with either play over the summer.
You have to.
Yeah, so hopefully these guys are getting out there in the summer. It's been beautiful weather. We've had a lot of good opportunity to get on the course. Hopefully they're able to do that and improve their game for next season.
Well, it's one of the greatest benefits of being a varsity golfer is you get a free pass to play anytime you want at one of the most impressive public courses in the area.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it's no you can improve from now until next season. It's if you want to improve, this is when you have to do it because you can't improve over the winter. You can go to the indoor range, you can go to the simulator.
Not the same.
Not the same at all.
Definitely not. Well, the girls' golf team did some significant improvements this season, mostly due to their inexperience at the start. The Cardinals came into the season with very little varsity experience and several players who had never really played the game at all. Over the course of the short season, their swings and course management improved, and so did their scores.
At the beginning of the season, the Cardinals were relying on senior captain Lexi Herman to lead the way. She had the most experience and was used to playing at the varsity level. For the first few matches, it was Herman that was doing the heavy lifting and posting the lowest scores. But it didn't take long before some of her younger, less experienced teammates were catching up. By mid-season, sophomore Ellie Carver emerged as the Cardinals' consistent low-score leader, and she wasn't alone. Junior Belle Wynn had the team's best scored sections, and sophomore Rachel Bissett and Victoria Westloff also saw huge improvements throughout the season. 4 players shot career best at the section tournament and helped the Cardinals post their best team score of the year in the final event. Most of the girls will be helping out with Coach Keeney's Bunker Hills Junior Golf this summer, and all of the girls will have the chance to spend as much time as they want to at the gem of Coon Rapids. That will be the key to their improvement from one year to the next. If the Cardinals get out and spend the time working on their game, they should have a number of players that will be pushing each other next spring, and perhaps they'll be able to challenge some of the top teams in the conference and section play.
Your 3 seniors are Captain Lexi Herman, Kaylee Lackinen, and Jessica Larrabee. Lackinen and Larrabee both in most varsity events. Herman had a little bit of a struggle toward the end of the season. She was definitely the leader early on, but part of that's due to it sounded like she got a little bit of the yips, something that happens to most golfers. And part of it just, hats off to the younger players like Wynn and Bissett and, of course, Carver, that really got their game in a groove a little bit this spring and were able to show significant improvement over the course of that short season.
Yeah, and those girls working with Coach Keeney this summer, a great advantage for them because they're going to be able to be on the course every day and they're going to be able to continue to work on their game as well as improve it.
Well, I keep asking the golf coaches if maybe I still have some eligibility, and it's mostly due to the fact that being a part of the varsity team, you get that free pass to bunker all summer.
That's what you want, the free pass to bunker.
Yeah, anytime I can get on the course, I will gladly take it, especially if somebody else is footing the bill. Boys lacrosse team had a rough season, and they need to see some dramatic changes if they hope to get these things turned around. Like many Coon Rapids programs, the problem doesn't appear to be lack of talent, but instead struggles with consistency, which fortunately should be easier to correct. The Cardinals were winless this season, finishing 0-14 before being eliminated in the first round of the playoffs.
Upper corner, Cardinals on the board first.
The big problem early on was the offense. Cardinals didn't score for the first game and a half before finally playing right with the Cougars during the second half of that second game. Unfortunately, the inconsistency on offense was a challenge all season.
Josiah Taylor, he'll run out front and drop it over the keeper who is charging out to defend.
The Cardinals managed just 7 goals in the first 4 games and only reached double digits once all year. Of course, it's hard to put the ball in the net if you spend most of the game in the defensive end, which was often the case. And the Cardinals had trouble getting takeaways and having opportunities with possession in the attacking third. Most of their games against top conference teams ended in lopsided losses, but there were games where they played right with teams that seemed out of their league. The Cardinals lost 1-goal games to both Totino, Grace, and Blaine, who were both middle of the Northwest Suburban Pack. Their 13-11 loss to Irondale in early May was another one they felt they could have won. The 5-4 loss to Blaine in the regular season finale proved that this team not only could play with some of the better teams, but it was also their best defensive effort of the year. The Cardinals will only lose a half a dozen players, so the hope is that with the amount of talent and experience they return, that will allow them to pick up where they left off and hopefully make a push to be a more relevant team in conference and section play. There are the seniors moving along: Emerson Badio, Carter Schrippy, John Gergen, Cam Lesner, Cody Kovalenko, and Brad Ryle, and all have been a significant part of the program the last couple of seasons. They do have some of their leading scorers are coming back. Their goaltenders coming back, but so many things that need to be addressed for this team to be able to compete on a level, even with the teams in the middle of the pack. But to me, it seemed it was all about that consistency. You have one game you're losing by 12. The next game, you're taking a Blaine, who's right in the middle of the conference pack where you want to be. You're taking them right down to the wire and losing by a goal. Yeah, and this is a program. I don't know how many of the guys are playing lacrosse over the summer, but these guys need to continue to play and to sharpen their skills and to get better at the game of lacrosse, and that's what they're looking for next season. Well, for the girls lacrosse team, it was another season of almost but not quite, as they missed a great opportunity in the playoffs.
The Cardinals didn't have the success they're used to during the regular season, but still they had a chance to claim that more elusive section championship at the end. Instead, it's back to the drawing board and looking forward to next spring.
The Cardinals started the season as the defending conference champions, but their bid for a repeat was over almost before it began. The Champlin Park Rebels handed Coon Rapids a 14-8 loss in the season opener, and it was the start of a Rebels' undefeated run to the conference championship. The rest of the season, the Cardinals were trying to play catch-up, but it would be all for naught. They would lose just 3 more games during the regular season, each by just 1 goal. Their 11-4 record left them 4th in the Northwest Suburban. As is typical of this program, the Cardinals boasted one of the stingiest defenses in the state. Unfortunately, they didn't have the kind of explosive offense that they've had in the past, and that has helped them win 4 conference titles in their 8 years of existence.
It will be taken behind by Jordan Keller. Keller out front, a shot and a goal. And how about number 5 for Helen Nelson?
Still, the Cardinals were the 2nd seed in Section 7 tournament and had a great chance to finally get the monkeys off their back by claiming that crown and advancing to the state tournament for the first time. They flew past Spring Lake Park 16-5, but they came up short against Centennial in the semifinal, losing 12-8 to a team they had beaten by a similar score earlier in the year.
Lily Hackett works her speed around the defense, goes to the backhand and scores.
The Cardinals will return their leading scorer in junior Helen Nelson, who finished with 71 points this season, but they will lose their next 3 top scorers. A total of 7 seniors will leave the program, but there'll be a lot of talented players with a lot of experience returning in 2017. In their short history, the Cardinals have shown an ability to reload year after year, so there's plenty of reason to be optimistic about their chances of returning to the top of the conference next spring. And who knows, maybe it'll be the year they finally take the step that has been so elusive to this point.
There are your seniors: Emily Ford, Kayla Ross, Kara Grimmer, Lily Hackett, Allie Misquick, Autumn Kaiser, and Mary Cedarstrom. Hackett, Misquick, and Ross were those top scorers that they will lose. But Coach DeJoy has done such a great job with this program. 4 conference championships in the 8 years of existence. That's something that no other program can say.
No, without a question. Knowing Coach DeJoy the way we do, I'm sure the way the season ended ate at him because he had the opportunity to go to state.
It's still eating
and
at him.
I'm sure it is. And as we talked about in that piece, he will reload. He will come back with strong defensive play and hope to increase that offensive production for next year.
And I think they've definitely got the pieces to do that. And it's just a matter of there's a lot of great teams, and it helps if you don't lose that first one. So We'll see what happens when the schedule comes out, if they've got one of those top contenders right off the bat as they did this year. And Champlin Park went undefeated, they won the conference championship undefeated this year, only to lose in the semifinals. And Coon Rapids knew that going into their semifinal game. We're thinking, oh, well, they're out of the way. We've got a good shot at this now. And then they couldn't get the victory and get to the championship.
They were that close to getting there, and it's an unfortunate situation because this program has been successful year in and year out.
Well, that is going to do it for an entire season, an entire year of sports. We want everybody out there to have a great summer. We will, all things considered, most likely be back here at the beginning of the fall season to start year number 20 of CTN's coverage of Coon Rapids athletics. For the last time during the 2015-16 school year, we want to thank everybody out there for joining us. Continue to support everything we do here at CTN for the entire crew, including Howard Shapiro. I'm Joe Young, saying good night.